Hello and welcome to Chat with a Doc, a new virtual health series brought to you by 50Forward and Walk with a Doc. I'm Kelsey Mahaffey, the All of Us Project Director for 50Forward, a nonprofit serving older adults located in Nashville, Tennessee. Today's program is made possible by 50Forward, which is a national community engagement partner for the All of Us Research Program. All of Us is a research program from the National Institutes of Health that aims to advance precision medicine. Specifically, All of Us is seeking 1 million people from diverse backgrounds, including older adults, to volunteer and share their health information, helping researchers find better treatments and cures for all of us. Over 700,000 people have enrolled so far, with 80% of those coming from communities that are historically underrepresented in biomedical research. You can learn more about the program, as well as what research studies are happening right now, by visiting our website at joinallofus.org/50forward. Also with me today is my colleague, Keith Richardson, who will introduce today's topic and special guests. Hi, Keith.
Hey, Kelsey, and hello, and a big welcome to all of you tuning in to our first Chat with the Doc today, celebrating Healthy Aging Month. We are so thrilled to welcome cardiologist and Walk with the Doc founding CEO, Dr. David Sabgir, as well as Ms. Vera Coleman, one of 54's All of Us volunteer peer ambassadors, to lead our conversation today. I'll read a brief bio for each of them, and then we'll jump into the presentation. Dr. David Sabgir is a full-time cardiologist in Columbus, Ohio, and the founding CEO of Walk with the Doc, an international nonprofit with a mission to inspire communities through movement conversation. In 2005, David realized the importance of physical activity for his patients to lead healthy lives. Walk with the Doc started as an ideal and has now spread to 500 plus communities in over 40 countries. But David continues to personally invite his patients to walk alongside him as a local leader. Ms. Vera Coleman is a graduate of Tennessee Agriculture and Industrial State University, now known as Tennessee State University. She earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in biology and retired from a career in biomedical research spanning some 30 years. Ms. Coleman is also a 2022 recipient of the prestigious Hands On Nashville Mary Catherine Strobel Volunteer Award. Thank you both for being here. First up, please join me in welcoming David, who has put together some slides for today's talk. For those watching on Facebook, please place any questions in the comments section on your screen. For those on Zoom, please place questions in the Q&A feature. We will do our best to address those at the end. Take it away, David.
Thank you, Keith. It's an honor to be with everyone, and we've got a lot of stuff that is exciting, and I can't wait to get to it. So here we go. And it really is an honor to be with you here today during Healthy Aging Month. Okay. Next slide. Let's see. Great. So we'll talk about origins, our growth of Walk with a Doc. It's really been an incredible journey, so fun. And then we'll talk about some challenges along the way, how we've been evaluated, and then some hot topics. Next slide, please. Great. So this all started in the fall of 2004. But prior to that, during my training in cardiology, I was realizing I had two separate kinds of patients on different paths. And one path was the group that was having very healthy aging. They were going for walks, they were enjoying life into their 80s, 90s, and beyond, and just a very high quality of life. The common denominator was they were all doing some type of movement, and they were, for the most part, socially connected. I had another group that was not experiencing anywhere near the same quality of life. So I figured this will be easy. I'll just move one group from one path to the other. Next slide, please. Great. I also saw in cardiac rehab patients that had had a heart attack or bypass surgery, it was almost like it was a blessing in disguise, as weird as that sounds. But once they started being active, their whole spirit, their whole mood changed. And while I would wish a heart attack on nobody, these patients seem to have a higher quality of life. Next slide, please. So this was a picture of me back in 2004 when I had decided I've got it all figured out. And I started, maybe this was probably more 1997. I had decided, you know what, I'm going to shift everyone. They're all going to be physically active and socially connected, and everyone's going to live forever. Next slide, please. In reality, this was me. I was totally unsuccessful at making this happen, despite talking to all my patients about it. So I had to go to the next step. Next slide, please. Everyone's, there are a lot of reasons that we're not active. And I live in Ohio, and the weather is either too hot or too cold for 12 months a year. Also, a lot of us lead busy lives. We have a lot on our plate. We can be tired. A lot of us feel that we get enough exercise at work, or going for a walk may not be enough. And a lot of us may not feel comfortable in walking in our neighborhood, or embarrassed. So there are a lot of reasons that, 77% of the country is not as active as we all could be to improve our health. Next slide, please. Exercise really is, you'll see at the bottom of this, the magic bullet, the miracle drug, the fountain of youth. And I say exercise, but it's really movement or regular activity. It not only reduces our cardiovascular risk, and that's coronary disease, stroke, heart failure by up to 50%, but also it's a wonderful, one of the questions is about arthritis. It is a wonderful treatment for arthritis, for our lungs. It reduces 13 cancers dramatically. Wonderful for mental health, diabetes. We have a 100-reason list. If any of you want it, we're happy to forward. Next slide, please. Great. So that Real Briefs was our first wedding. That was Karen and Jim out of Worcester, Massachusetts. They met at Walk with a Doc and got married. I wanted to either be on Oprah so we could get the word out about the walk, or have someone get married. We had someone get married, so I call that a win. Our first walk was at this small park in Columbus in 2005. We had over 100 people, and I knew from that day that we had fallen upon something that was bigger than I had ever hoped, and needed to be part of the fabric of our communities. Next slide, please. Oh, that's Karen and Jim. We'll move forward. Thank you. We started it just for physical activity. I just wanted to get my patients more active, and really that was it when I asked them to join my family and I at the park. But then we've fallen into a couple other things. Social connection is incredible, and we found that may be equally important to the physical activity. We all need each other. That showed itself so large during the pandemic. That's a part of Walk with a Doc. Health education. Our docs, healthcare providers speak at the beginning of the walk for 5 to 10 minutes on anything you want to talk about, and we'll touch on some of the hottest topics in a few minutes. And then there's more and more data on nature. All of us feel good when we're at Sabgir Park or other locations outside, and there's now data more and more on how beneficial it is. We do need about 120 minutes a week is our dose of nature medicine, and Walk with a Doc provides that. Next slide, please. So it's been a crazy ride. I won't get into the growth, but we are about 5 years just at one site, and now we are blessed to be getting about 8 to 10 requests a day. from around the world to get started. And that's thanks to our incredible, we have thousands of wonderful healthcare provider leaders, and they are doing such a great job that we're getting more and more requests to get started. Next slide, please. We've had some challenges. First, it was getting doctors. It's a busy group of people, but now that thanks to webinars and earned media, we've been fortunate to cast a wide net around the world. There's over 9 million doctors around the world, and there are definitely a subset that are interested in doing this. Liability insurance, we took care of, but that was an issue at the beginning. All our walks are covered and protected. Funding's an issue for every nonprofit, but we have incredible leaders, and Rachel Habash and Brian Romy and Carrie Callis that are making that happen. And the awareness issue is also decreasing as we're able to participate in webinars like this. We have a very small team. We have the people I just mentioned in centrally located, but we've got thousands of volunteers that blow my mind every day around the world that are making Walk with a Doc a viable, successful option in communities around the world. Next slide. And we'll go next. And we'll skip through these just because I want to get to some hot topics, but we are very fortunate to team up with the Surgeon General and work with that in 2015 to make walking a national priority. Advance, please. Next slide. Next slide. And keep going. Awesome. This is these friendly faces. We see this every Saturday, and I can tell you this picture to me just embodies the spirit, the energy, the passion of the walk. And all of us have days, it's raining outside my window now, where you may want to sleep in, but then you go to a walk and this happens. And I've probably attended 1,000+ Walk with the Docs. I never have left not feeling like these amazing women in this picture. Next slide, please. We have wonderful collaborations, and this is an opportunity to bring so many different leaders in your community together. And we see this as our Switzerland, a blank canvas where all of us can work towards a common cause. Next slide, please. Next slide. And next slide. These are just wonderful partners. I want to get to some of the more fun stuff. This is Dr. Jennifer Honey in Santa Barbara. The reason I show this slide is she has Thanksgiving at her house for the walkers every year, because they become such close friends. They become like family. And those are the relationships that we see and are critical, not only for us feeling good, but for our health. Next slide, please. Wonderful partners around the world. And I wish I had more time, but I want to get to some more stuff. So next slide. Next slide. Yep, keep advancing. Thank you. Awesome. So we survey our walkers, and we have found, and we're seeing the same thing from our healthcare providers, leaders, that we are able to increase physical activity, increase education, increase empowerment. And I love that heart in the red 98.5 is that our physicians in our communities feel that this is a concept that needs to be employed in other communities. Thank you. Next slide. Cool. My favorite part. So hot topics. These are things we talk about. This is a couple that meets I think it's every week in Tyler, Texas. They're amazing. And next slide. These are things we talk about at the walk. And looking at my clock, I want to see, we've got just a few more minutes, but aspirin. So we get asked about this a lot. It is no longer recommended as a primary prevention, meaning It's not recommended if you haven't had a heart attack or a stroke. If you have, then you absolutely should be on a baby aspirin. The disclaimer to all these slides is please talk to your doctor about it, but these are important things that I want to bring to the front of your mind. Next slide, please. Alcohol used to be okay. I was very popular when I would give talks and say 1 is better than none, 2 is better than 1, 3 is worse than none per day. Now, the less alcohol, the better. We used to think it had some cardiovascular benefit. We're not seeing that as much. So it's a good thing to use in moderation, as little as possible. Next slide, please. This, of course, horrible. Next slide. Smoking cuts 14 years off your life. So if you or any of your family members do it, please go to the mat, and as we do in the office, and find ways to get your family member, friend to stop smoking. Fish oil used to be recommended. One of the questions was about fish oil. It is no longer recommended as a supplement, especially if you eat fish once or twice a week, really, an oily fish like salmon, mackerel, tuna. You absolutely don't need it. There's very weak data, but 15 years ago, my cardiology partners and I recommended it, not anymore. Next slide, please. Thank you. Overall, I am not a fan of supplements. That's not a very popular position at all, but supplements in general there's no proven data. So the benefits we get from going for a walk, being in nature, being with each other, dwarf any possible benefit from supplements. So please, if it's something you're considering, people can get tied or emotional about how strong they feel about supplements. If you're not tied to it, please don't take them. I say it makes expensive urine. Next slide, please. Water. This is underappreciated. If we can drink 64 ounces of water a day, that can take care of so many things. A lot of issues we deal with, and I see patients deal with, is due to being dehydrated. So 8 glasses a day pretty much would be very beneficial to your health. Next slide. So exercise, physical activity, the most important thing. I wanted to say that on my epitaph when my time has come. This is the number one thing. There's no procedure. There's no medicine. There is nothing I can do for you that can even begin to compete with walking or your favorite physical activity for 150 minutes a week total. That could be 22 minutes a day, no matter however you want to slice it. And if you can't be at 150, anything is better than what it was before. Things only get better. At 60 minutes a week, there's good benefit. At 150 minutes a week, there's this ridiculous benefit. Above that, there's a little more benefit going to 300 minutes a week, but that's not necessary. It's 150, and whatever you like to do. Walking is just the most popular for obvious reasons. Next slide, please. Blood pressure is critical. It's the silent killer. We like to keep that number below 130 on top, or systolic, and 85 or on the bottom, diastolic. We love to check blood pressures at the walks, and just because we don't feel it. It's called the silent killer because just about everyone doesn't have symptoms. Next slide, please. I love this because this is a good friend of mine, Amar. He was not active prior to getting engaged in Walk with a Doc, and then he ended up doing a lot more than that as far as running marathons. But reason I love this is he now, with his ability to be so active, he got his family engaged, and when they travel to national parks, which, it's our nation's greatest gift, I believe. So I love that about the importance of physical activity. Allows us to see things that we otherwise might not. Next slide, please. How much time do I have? I'm almost over or already over. I will just, if we could advance to chocolate's good, coffee's great, no cream. Next slide. Next slide. Sleep apnea is underdiagnosed. Please talk to your doctor. This can cause a lot of things that are easily treatable. Next slide. Next slide. The power of food is incredible. And I'll go to the last slide. And Michael Pollan summed it all up. That he's a journalist, but he has spent a lot of time in his life researching food, and he boiled it down to 7 words: eat food, mostly plants, not too much. So that's I have found that dietary advice to be golden. And next slide. I thank you for allowing me to be with you, and I really look forward to answering questions after Ms. Vera speaks, and thank you again.
Awesome. Well, thank you, David, for the informative presentation on healthy aging. I know we all have some questions from the audience as well as some that were submitted. But before those, let's turn to Ms. Vera Coleman to share her personal thoughts on healthy aging. Ms. Coleman, at almost 89 years old, you remain a shining example of healthy aging for us at 50Forward. Could you please share some of your thoughts on how you continue to embrace health at your age?
Hi, Keith. This is just a pleasure, and I am really hyped now after this wonderful presentation. I view healthy aging as a spiritual discipline, the one that embraces mind, body, and soul. My days began and they end with a mind of gratitude and an intentional effort in maintaining a positive perspective. I am intentional, very intentional about my health and my lifestyle that includes my diet and relationships with the group that I walk with, and exercise and workouts. And of course, I am very intentional about my annual physical checkups with my doctors. I too am an avid walker, and I have been since 1997. I walk 5 days a week, 2 to 3 miles a day. I do have health issues, and they are greatly improved because of my lifestyle. So I'm told by my geriatrician. Also, I participate in many activities such as chair yoga and strength exercises, and some of which is made possible by my affiliation with the board of 50Forward. So I just want to give a shout out to my colleagues there and to the director. Besides the passion of maintaining a healthy lifestyle, I also have another passion. I am a recipient of excellent research, and I have participated in over 30 years of excellent research. And so that other passion I have is when I invested in and became a partner with the All of Us research program. I am a peer ambassador, and in that role, I get the chance to form wonderful relationships as I expound upon the mission and the tenets of the program. And I often say it's one of the best investments in my life. The one size fits all theory is all false as it relates to healthcare. And as Kelsey had said, she gave the website that one can go and investigate and just find out more about the All of Us research program. I appreciate the fact that enrollment is always available for that program 24/7. And just to think of knowing that we leave a legacy, not only to our families, but future generations through research. So I'd like to end by saying, remember, hashtag healthcare begins with you, it begins with me, and all of us. Thank you, Keith, for the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you too, Ms. Coleman. You're just a truly an inspiration for all of us and embody what healthy aging means. So we definitely appreciate you.
And you know, I could not agree more. So many of us at 50Forward hope to be just like Ms. Coleman when we grow up. So thank you for being here and sharing that testimonial with us today. It's much appreciated.
My pleasure.
So thank you. Now let's get to some questions from our viewers. So a special thanks to those of you who submitted questions in advance. We're going to start with some of those and then we'll check the ones in the Q&A. So first up, we have a question here. David, this one is for you. What started your fitness journey and especially walking?
Yeah, thank you for that. I just feel like a different person when I'm active. The mental health benefits, it serves as a buffer for my day. I love the social connection. I usually walk or run, bike with friends. So once I got hooked in high school, I never really looked back. And I love that there's different flavors. So that's part of the reason I started Walk with a Doc is I wanted everyone to feel that same joy.
Beautiful. Okay, what about this one? How can I start a walking program when it hurts to move due to severe arthritis? That's a great question.
I'm sorry, that's a really good question, very important. So it is, first of all, important to know that walking actually is arguably the best treatment for arthritis, even though it may not feel that way. So I encourage you to meet with your primary care practitioner. There's lots of great options. They may want to refer you to a rheumatologist, a specialty that focuses on arthritis, but there are many ways to tackle that problem. And again, please keep in mind that if it doesn't work to be on the road, there are many great ways to exercise in water. I have a lot of patients that walk laps in the pool and they feel a lot better doing that. So that may be something to keep in mind as well.
Water would be great. Okay, and what about someone who is a prostate cancer survivor? Should they be worried about low heart rate during walking and exercise?
Another great question. The quick answer is no. A heart rate, even I had a call today from a physician where their heart rate was in the 30s. And as long as you're not having symptoms of lightheadedness, dizziness, fatigue, low heart rate, a lot of people believe can be a sign of conditioning and fitness, a very positive thing. So great question. And if you're not having symptoms, no, you should not be worried at all.
Perfect. All right, here's a fun one. So we talked some about food and what foods we should eat. What about the most healthiest fruit? I know I saw the Walk with the Doc newsletter where you talked about the apples. That was so fun, that story. So is there a healthiest fruit or the healthiest fruits that you can think of?
Yeah, I saw that question in advance and I love it. And I think it may be a trick question because probably the best fruits are so good for you, vegetables so good for you. And it's best to get a whole variety. As you know, while I am not a fan of supplements, as I mentioned, I am a huge fan of the vitamins and minerals that we get from the actual food. So take whatever fruits you like, but bananas and strawberries and blueberries, all of those and so many more fruits give us things that the other may not. So the more colorful your plate, as you probably heard, it's true. That's the best approach.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, and here's a diagnosis question. Somebody that's been diagnosed with a left bundle branch block but has a clear calcium score test, should they be concerned? That's a very specific question.
Very specific question. So clear calcium score, that is, and thank you for that question. It is a clear calcium means that this person does not have any blockages in their arteries or the plumbing, the coronaries that sit on top of the heart, and that is wonderful. A left bundle branch block is an electrical block that all of our hearts have this. It's amazing, this electrical system that allows our hearts to beat. A block, a left bundle branch block in itself does not necessarily mean there's a problem. It's something where, as a cardiologist, we would do routine echoes to make sure that the strength of the heart is staying where it should. It's just something to get routine surveillance, but a left bundle branch block in itself does not necessarily mean there's going to be a problem down the road.
Great. Okay, and I love this question here. What is the definition of aging from a medical standpoint? When one begins to age, what are the signs or symptoms? But really, what is that definition? Is there one from the medical community?
Yeah, so it's a really all these questions are wonderful, and I'm going to probably end up on my soapbox here, but I see aging approach so many different ways as our bodies physiologically progress. It's so much of it to me is attitude, and Vera is at the end of the spectrum as far as the absolute best, and what an incredible approach. And I would love for all of my patients to have that mindset. There are things as our bodies wear as we get older that we come across, but these physical activity and eating a diet high in fruits and vegetables can really extend our lives 10 to 15 years and take down that marginal decade, that last decade of our life where things aren't as great as the other decades, and really shorten it and turn those years into really productive, not necessarily productive, that's the wrong word, but years where we feel good and we're enjoying life. So that's when I think about aging, that's what I think about. And I think by the ball is really for so many of us in our court to create these healthy lifestyles. I warned you about the soapbox, but thank you for that question.
No, thank you for answering. That was a great answer. Here's a medication question for you. Do you recommend, or is there a best medication for high blood pressure?
Yeah, I look at blood pressure medicines as temporary for a lot of us. There are three main classes of medicines. Those are calcium channel blockers, diuretics called thiazides, and also ACE inhibitors or ARBs. Those three classes. And what's wonderful about those medications are they are cheap, they are proven, and they have very little side effects. You know, as you guys know, with every medicine, there's a long list of side effects, but those medications can often get our blood pressure down below that 130/85. We may need 3 medicines. The average person that has high blood pressure, and that's half of us adults, requires 3 medicines to get it down. So yes, of course, physical activity, maintaining a proper weight, maintaining a healthy diet, all those things are preferable. Sleep apnea, finding out if you have that and treating it. Those are the ways I prefer, and I'm sure you prefer to get your blood pressure down. When those don't work, and that's why I talk about medicines as temporary, we can use those as bridge gaps to get our blood pressure down so our risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure are reduced. But there's a lot of trepidation from patients going into blood pressure medicines. I get that, but they save lives and prevent heart attacks and strokes and all that.
Yeah, and I love that. I love this question and your answer, because really that's what we're trying to do with the All of Us research program, is to tailor medications and treatments to us as individuals and create safer medications for future generations. That's the whole premise of the All of Us research program. So love that there's a medication question on here. Okay, one more from the preset questions, and then Keith is going to look at the questions we have live right now in the Q&A. So how has the cardiology community found, or have they found, might be what this means, has the cardiology community found a connection between COVID and heart health now that COVID has been around for a few years?
I love that question too. The answer is yes and no. I will say that anecdotally in the office, seeing very, very, very little cardiology downstream effects of COVID. Basically nothing after a year. Yes, you will absolutely see online and read about that there is some link, and of course there is, but it's a very, very small percentage. I am a huge advocate of the vaccine because if you get COVID, the risk of getting a cardiac issue or other long-term issues is much higher than the minuscule risk associated with the vaccine. I will tell you the thing that I've seen the most is that it's something called orthostatic hypotension, where if we stand up from a chair, we can get a little lightheaded. That is extremely rare. Most everyone I've seen that's had COVID, and I've seen probably thousands now, have no cardiology downstream effect. But yes, there's a very small percentage that may have things. I've not seen those persist.
Such an important topic. Thank you for that question and that answer. And September is also National Immunization Awareness Month. So great plug for vaccines right there. So thank you for everyone who submitted questions in advance. We appreciate your participation. Keith, what do we have in the Q&A? We have some more questions in there.
We actually do, Kelsey. I see a couple of them that have submitted some. So one question I see is, how important is it to do weight bearing versus cardio and Tai Chi?
I love it. So weight bearing, I don't look at them as one being more important than the other. Weight bearing, the recommendation is 30 to 60 minutes, 2 days a week. There's a wonderful book out there called Outlive that covers a lot of the stuff we're talking with. It's by Dr. Peter Attia. He talks about the importance of 3 types of physical activity as we get older: weight bearing, cardio, 150 minutes a week, ideally, and then stability, doing balance exercises. Those 3 things position us beautifully moving forward. I love Tai Chi, I love cardio, and it's like picking one child over the other. All 3 are really important. So please, anytime you can invest in those 3 activities and others where we're moving our body is worth its weight in gold. Don't pick one over the other.
Okay. Awesome answer. Looks like from Elaine, we have, how bad is sugar in spite of exercising 6 times a week?
I see that. Eileen, I am with you. So I use exercise. I'm kind of I prefer moderation, and there's a certain ice cream in Columbus that I call Jenny's that I have a weakness for. And I don't, like, when we celebrate or if I'm looking for a reason, I don't rule it out. Sugar is not good for us. It's not. But I think if you're exercising 6 times a week, that is amazing. And I give you grace and freedom to participate in sugar in moderation. I think, and the reason I say that is I think my personal approach is, if you try and cut something out 100%, there are times where it comes back in, full force. So don't feel guilty. Just use moderation.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we have a comment, but it's not really a question, but from Kathy. She just wanted to say that Miss Vera is awesome. And Dr. David Sabgir is fabulous and a great presentation.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank
Kathy.
you.
It is
My pleasure.
awesome. Well, I believe our time is up for today. David and Miss Coleman, once again, thank you both so much for being with us to chat about healthy aging.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for being here. And a special thank you to Walk with a Doc for partnering with us on this new fun virtual health series. Of course, if you're in the Nashville area, our Walk with the Doc chapter meets on the second Wednesdays at Centennial Park at 10 a.m. If you're ever in Nashville, join us. And a huge thanks to all of you that joined us from across the country watching today. We look forward to seeing you again for our next episode of Chat with a Doc later this year. And remember, if you would like to learn more about and even join the All of Us research program, please visit our website at joinallofus.org/50forward to see how you can become 1 in a million with all of us. We'll now leave you with a short PSA about the program. Happy Healthy Aging Month and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us research program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.